Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Scholar. Tonight's journey takes us into the quiet world of massage, where we will trace its ancient origins, discover how different cultures shaped its practice, and learn how touch can soothe muscles, support circulation, and calm the nervous system across time and place. If you enjoy these quiet explorations, consider subscribing so you can easily return here whenever you need to rest. For now, get comfortable. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let's begin. Massage is one of humanity's oldest recorded healing arts. Long before modern clinics and wellness rooms, people in many early societies used rubbing, kneading, and pressure as part of daily care for aching bodies. Written evidence appears in several ancient traditions, including China, India, Egypt, Greece, and Rome, which means massage did not spring from a single birthplace, but from many human hands discovering similar comforts. That wide ancestry gives massage a rare dignity. It belongs to cities, caravans, temples, households, and travelers alike. Across centuries, touch became a language for soreness after labor, stiffness from cold, and the simple wish to feel restored. Even today, the practice still carries that old inheritance. Beneath lotions, tables, and carefully folded towels lives something very ancient: the quiet recognition that the body can sometimes be guided, not forced, toward ease. Ancient Chinese medicine preserves some of the earliest detailed written descriptions of massage. Early Chinese medical traditions included therapeutic rubbing and pressing, practices later associated with Anmo and Tuina, within a broader view of health that connected the body's parts into one living system. Rather than treating flesh as a machine of separate pieces, these traditions saw patterns, pathways, and balance, like rivers moving through a landscape. Manuals discussed when pressure, movement, and manual techniques might help discomfort, stiffness, or sluggishness. Over centuries, massage in China developed alongside exercises, herbal medicine, and acupuncture, becoming one strand in a larger woven fabric of care. That long continuity matters because it shows massage was not merely a luxury or indulgence. It could be studied, named, refined, and taught. In that sense, ancient Chinese massage feels like an early conversation between hands and knowledge, where touch was given both craft and theory. Ayurvedic tradition in India treated massage as part of a wider philosophy of balance. In classical Indian practice, oil massage, often called abhyanga, was woven into daily routine, seasonal care, and ideas about maintaining harmony in the body. Warm oil gave the practice a special gentleness, letting the hands glide like lamplight across the skin, while also reducing friction. Different oils and techniques were chosen according to tradition, constitution, and circumstance. So massage was not imagined as one fixed method for all people. In this worldview, touch belonged beside food, sleep, herbs, movement, and bathing as part of orderly living. That placement is quietly important. It means massage was not always reserved for injury or crisis. Sometimes it was a companion to ordinary life, like sweeping a floor or tending a garden. The body, in this tradition, was something to be cared for regularly, with patience, warmth, and ritual attention. Ancient Greek medicine linked massage with exercise, recovery, and the art of caring for the body. Greek athletes were often rubbed with oils before and after training, and physicians writing in the Hippocratic tradition discuss rubbing as a meaningful therapeutic technique. The Greeks admired strength, but they also studied restoration, understanding that effort and relief belong to the same circle. Oil gave the skin a sheen like polished stone, yet its purpose was practical as well, helping the hands move and sometimes loosening dirt after exercise. In gymnasia and training grounds, massage stood close to movement, athletics, and bodily discipline. This association helped shape later Western ideas that touch could support function as well as comfort. What survives from that world is not a modern massage menu, but something older and simpler. The sense that a worked body deserves skilled hands, and that recovery is not weakness, but part of human excellence. Roman culture made massage part of communal bathing and daily bodily care. In Roman baths, people moved through warm rooms, hot chambers, and pools, and massage could follow cleansing, sweating, or exercise as part of the larger ritual. The baths were vast social theatres of stone and steam, but within them, massage remained intimate. One person working directly on another's tired limbs and back. Oils were used, and tools such as the strigil helped scrape the skin clean after exercise and perspiration. This mattered because Roman body care was not only about cleanliness in the narrow modern sense, it was also about circulation, vitality, and the pleasures of order after strain. In a civilization famous for roads, arches, and engineering, massage occupied a smaller, softer architecture. It arranged comfort in the muscles the way Roman builders arranged balance in stone, reminding us that daily restoration has always been part of civilized life. The Persian physician Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, wrote about massage in a major medieval medical encyclopedia. In the Canon of Medicine, completed in the early 11th century, he described different forms of rubbing and discussed how their intensity and purpose could vary. Gentle rubbing, stronger rubbing, preparatory rubbing, and restorative rubbing were not treated as identical acts, which shows a refined awareness that touch can do different work depending on how it is applied. His writing helped carry medical knowledge across languages and centuries, influencing physicians in both the Islamic world and Europe. That is one reason this fact feels so serene and powerful. Massage did not survive only in households and oral tradition. It entered scholarly medicine as well. On the long shelves of history, where ink often preserves what hands once knew, Avicenna gave manual therapy a place among the learned arts, and touch became something a library could remember. Modern Swedish massage was shaped in 19th century Europe rather than ancient Sweden. The system, commonly called Swedish massage, grew from 19th century gymnastics and manual therapy traditions, especially through the work of Per Henrik Ling, and later teachers who organized movements and manipulations into teachable forms. Many of the French terms still used today, such as effleurage and pétrissage, were popularized later in the development of massage education. This means the familiar spa language of modern Western massage is younger than many people imagine. It is not a relic from misty antiquity, but a carefully arranged modern method with roots in exercise science, anatomy, and therapeutic instruction. That youth gives it a different beauty. Some traditions flow out of deep antiquity like old rivers, while Swedish massage resembles a well-drawn map, measured and systematized. It shows how touch can evolve from inherited instinct into a structured craft taught from teacher to student. Effleurage is the gliding stroke that gives many massages their opening sense of calm. In classical Western massage, effleurage usually involves smooth, flowing strokes performed with the palm or the whole hand, often moving along the contours of muscles and toward the heart. Therapists use it at the beginning and end of sessions to spread oil, warm tissues, and gather information about tension, tenderness, and texture. Because it is broad and continuous, it feels less like a knock at the door and more like dawn filling a room. The nervous system often responds well to that predictability. Before deeper work begins, the body is given a chance to recognize the touch as steady and coherent rather than abrupt. That is one reason effleurage can feel so immediately settling. It introduces massage not as intrusion, but as conversation, with the first sentences spoken in long, even lines across the landscape of the skin. Petrissage is the kneading style of massage that lifts and compresses soft tissue. In Western massage terminology, petrissage includes motions such as kneading, wringing, rolling, and lifting, usually directed at muscles and the tissue around them. Compared with gliding strokes, it feels more focused, as though the hands have stopped admiring the hillside and begun to study the soil. Therapists often use petrissage to work on thicker muscles, especially when they want a broader approach that is deeper than light stroking, but not as pinpointed as pressure on a specific tender spot. The motion can encourage a feeling of suppleness, making dense areas seem less guarded and more responsive. Its rhythm matters too. Repeated lifting and compression create a kind of manual tide, a slow shaping rather than a sudden push. In that measured rhythm, kneading becomes a quiet form of craftsmanship, like bread being worked into readiness, or clay persuaded toward ease. Massage influences the nervous system partly through specialized sensors in the skin and deeper tissues. The body is threaded with mechanoreceptors, cells and nerve endings that respond to pressure, stretch, vibration, and movement. When a hand glides over the skin or presses gently into muscle, those receptors send signals inward, and the brain begins to interpret the touch not only as contact, but as information. Some receptors answer best to light, slow stroking, while others respond more to sustained pressure or movement of joints and fascia. This is why different massage styles can feel distinct even before muscles physically change. The experience is not happening in flesh alone. It is also unfolding in the nervous system's constant act of listening. Under skilled touch, the body is like an instrument hearing itself more clearly. Pressure becomes message, and message becomes sensation. And sensation may slowly alter how guarded or settled a person feels. Gentle massage can help shift the body toward parasympathetic activity, the branch associated with rest and restoration. The autonomic nervous system balances many functions outside conscious control, including heart rate, digestion, and the subtle readiness of muscles and blood vessels. During stress, sympathetic activity often rises, preparing the body for action. Calmer forms of touch, especially when predictable and comfortable, may support the opposite tendency, encouraging slower breathing, softer muscle tone, and a sense of settling. Scientists measure this indirectly through markers such as heart rate, blood pressure, and heart rate variability, though the exact effects differ from person to person and study to study. Even so, the broad pattern is familiar to many people. The body can seem to exhale through its tissues. Massage does not command the nervous system like a king issuing decrees. It invites, coaxes, and suggests. And sometimes that quiet invitation is enough for the body to loosen its vigilant posture. Massage can temporarily increase local blood flow in the tissues being worked. As the hands move across skin and muscle, they create mechanical pressure and friction, and the body often responds with a flush of warmth and color. Tiny vessels near the surface may widen, and circulation in the treated area can rise for a time. This does not mean massage performs miracles or permanently transforms the vascular system, but it does help explain why a worked region may feel warmer and more alive afterward. The change is modest, local, and real, like a window briefly opened in a still room. Greater blood flow can bring nutrients and oxygen while helping carry away some metabolic byproducts, though the body's own circulation is doing the transporting. Massage is more companion than engine here. It nudges the landscape, and the landscape answers with motion, sending a little more river through the places the hands have visited. Massage is especially well known for changing the feeling of muscle tension, even when the exact mechanism is complex. Many people describe tight muscles as though the fibers were knotted ropes, yet the reality is more subtle, involving tissue properties, nervous system sensitivity, posture, effort, fatigue, and expectation all at once. Massage may not literally untie a knot the way fingers untie cord, but it can alter pain perception, soften guarding, and make movement feel easier. That distinction matters because it preserves wonder without slipping into myth. The body is not a simple bundle of strings. It is a responsive, living system in which sensation and movement constantly shape one another. When touch feels skillful and safe, muscles sometimes stop clinging so fiercely to their own readiness. The result can feel immediate, as though a clenched fist somewhere beneath the skin had finally opened. Relief arrives not as magic, but as cooperation between tissue, nerves, and mind. Massage has been shown to reduce delayed onset muscle soreness in many studies. Delayed onset muscle soreness, often called DOMS, is the stiffness and tenderness that commonly appears a day or two after unfamiliar or demanding exercise. Research reviews suggest massage can modestly reduce how sore people feel after hard effort, even though it does not erase soreness completely or guarantee faster athletic performance. That nuance is important and strangely elegant. Massage is not a cheat code that cancels the honest aftermath of exertion. Instead, it can soften the edges of that aftermath, making the body's recovery feel less severe. Athletes have long sensed this in practice, and modern research broadly supports the idea, even while scientists continue debating the precise biological pathways involved. After labor, the muscles are like a field after weather, slightly battered but still fertile. Massage does not rewrite the storm. It simply helps the landscape settle after it has passed. Massage can improve range of motion for some people, especially when combined with movement and regular care. Stiffness is not always caused by one thing. It may reflect muscle tone, pain sensitivity, previous injury, habitual posture, or the connective tissues that guide motion. Because of that, massage affects flexibility differently from person to person. Yet studies and clinical experience both suggest that manual therapy can help some joints and muscles move more comfortably, particularly when it reduces soreness or guarding. The change may be small, but small changes matter. A shoulder that reaches a little higher, a neck that turns a little farther, a back that bends with less hesitation, can alter the feeling of an entire day. Massage does not replace strength, mobility practice, or rehabilitation when those are needed. It works more like an opening gesture. It loosens the latch, and then the body may discover that the door was never as sealed as it seemed. Fascia is one reason massage can feel broad and connected rather than confined to a single spot. Fascia is the body's continuous network of connective tissue that wraps, supports, and separates muscles, organs, nerves, and blood vessels. It is less like isolated packaging and more like a shimmering internal web, linking distant regions in ways the eye rarely imagines. When therapists speak about the body feeling bound, restricted, or gliding poorly, fascia is often part of the conversation. Modern research shows it is richly innervated and mechanically active, though popular claims about it are sometimes exaggerated. Still, its presence helps explain why touch in one area can influence the sensation of a larger region. The body is not built as a stack of independent blocks. It is a connected fabric, and massage moves across that fabric like weather across a plane. Sometimes the change is local. Sometimes the whole landscape seems to listen. Lymphatic drainage massage uses very light pressure because the lymphatic system lies close to the skin. Unlike blood, which is pumped by the heart, lymph moves through vessels with help from muscle activity, breathing, and the structure of the vessels themselves. Manual lymphatic drainage was developed as a specialized technique using gentle, rhythmic strokes intended to encourage lymph flow, especially in medical contexts such as lymphedema care under professional guidance. The pressure is often far lighter than newcomers expect, because pressing too hard can work against the desired effect. That delicacy gives the technique its own kind of grace. It feels less like sculpting clay and more like guiding a quiet stream. In skilled hands, almost nothing dramatic seems to happen, yet the method rests on precise understanding of anatomy and direction. It reminds us that not all effective touch is deep. Sometimes the body answers most clearly when the hand speaks in a whisper. Thai massage is traditionally performed with clothing on and includes stretching, compression, and assisted movement. Rooted in Thai healing traditions and influenced by Buddhist culture, as well as older medical ideas from South and Southeast Asia, Thai massage often takes place on a mat rather than a raised table. The practitioner may use hands, thumbs, forearms, elbows, knees, and even feet to apply rhythmic pressure and guide the body through stretches. For that reason, many people describe it as feeling partly like massage and partly like carefully supported yoga. Yet its character is distinct. The receiver is not expected to perform shapes alone. The practitioner helps create them, like a dance in which one partner lends structure to the other. This makes Thai massage feel architectural, almost geometric, as limbs lengthen and joints are invited into new angles. Across the mat, the body becomes both map and temple, open not by force, but by leverage, timing, and attentive care. Shiatsu developed in Japan as a system of pressure-based bodywork with modern roots in the 20th century. Although it draws on older East Asian medical ideas, shiatsu in its recognizable professional form was organized in Japan and came to emphasize pressure applied with thumbs, palms, and sometimes elbows along specific patterns on the body. The name itself is often translated as finger pressure, which captures the method's directness and simplicity. There is something quietly striking about that honesty. A single thumb placed with skill can seem to find a conversation hidden beneath layers of clothing and habit. Shiatsu is usually given on a mat with the person clothed, and its rhythm can alternate between stillness and sequence, pressure and release. Different schools explain its effects in somewhat different language, but the shared impression is unmistakable. The body feels read rather than merely handled, as though each point were a small doorway and the practitioner knew how to knock. Reflexology is a distinct practice from full body massage, even though the two are often confused. Reflexology usually focuses on the feet and sometimes the hands or ears, using pressure on specific areas that practitioners map to other parts of the body. Many people find it deeply relaxing, especially because the feet carry so much daily load, while receiving so little thoughtful attention. Scientifically, however, the strongest claims that pressing one foot zone can directly treat a distant organ are not well established. That does not make reflexology meaningless. It simply places it in a more honest light. A careful session can still feel relieving, comforting, and grounding, and focused touch on the feet alone may influence mood, pain, and general relaxation. The feet are humble ambassadors of the whole body, bearing miles, weight, and weather in silence. When attention finally returns to them, even without grand promises, the effect can feel surprisingly profound. Hot stone massage uses heated stones as tools for warmth and pressure, rather than as decoration. In modern practice, therapists commonly warm smooth stones, often basalt because it retains heat well, and place or glide them on the body as part of a session. The warmth can soften the feeling of guarded muscles and change how pressure is perceived, making the hands seem to arrive through a gentler doorway. Basalt, a dark volcanic rock, gives the method a quiet geological grandeur, as if ancient fire had been cooled and recruited into comfort. The stones are not meant to scorch or overwhelm. Safe temperature control is essential, and trained practitioners keep the heat within tolerable limits. Used skillfully, the stones act like reservoirs, lending steady warmth to broad areas such as the back, shoulders, or legs. It is a lovely union of deep time and human care, where rock, heat, skin, and muscle meet in a brief and carefully managed exchange. Massage oils are used mainly to reduce friction and shape the feel of the therapist's contact with the skin. Long before modern branded blends, people used oils for practical reasons. They let the hands travel more smoothly, protect the skin from dragging, and help create long, continuous strokes. Different oils have different textures, absorption rates, and scents. So a light grapeseed oil feels unlike the richer body of sesame or coconut. That difference changes the entire character of a session. One oil lets the hands skim like wind over water, while another invites a slower, more anchored glide. In some traditions, the oil itself also carries cultural or ritual meaning, linking massage to bathing, seasons, or household care. Yet the central function remains beautifully simple. Oil is not merely an accessory. It is the quiet surface between hand and skin, a thin, gleaming translator that allows pressure to travel with more grace and less resistance. Massage tables changed the modern experience of massage by making bodywork more ergonomic for both client and practitioner. Earlier forms of massage were often done on mats, benches, beds, or the ground, and many traditions still are. But the raised, padded table became especially important in modern Western practice because it allowed easier access to the body from different angles without forcing the therapist to stoop constantly. That shift mattered more than it first appears. When the practitioner's own posture is better supported, the work can become steadier, more controlled, and less fatiguing over time. The client also gains a sense of being held in a dedicated place, suspended a little above the ordinary room, as if daily life had been quietly set aside. Face cradles, bolsters, and adjustable height turn the table into a modest machine of comfort. Its design is not glamorous, yet it reshaped massage by giving technique, support, and rest a carefully engineered stage. chair massage brought massage into workplaces, airports, and public spaces by making sessions shorter and more accessible. Instead of lying under sheets on a table, the person leans forward into a specially designed padded chair while remaining clothed. This format changed the social geography of massage. It could now appear in offices, conventions, malls, and terminals, places ruled by schedules and passing time rather than long, quiet appointments. The chair supports the chest, face, arms, and knees, so the neck, shoulders, and back are easier to reach without requiring oils or a private treatment room. Because the setup is portable, massage could step out of secluded spaces and meet people where tension often gathers most stubbornly. There is something democratic in that migration. The art of touch, once tucked behind closed doors, learned to live among briefcases and boarding passes. Even in hurried environments, a few minutes of focused pressure can feel like a small clearing opened in the day. Prenatal massage is adapted to pregnancy with attention to comfort, positioning, and individual medical considerations. Pregnancy changes posture, joint loading, circulation, and tissue sensitivity. So bodywork during this time is not simply ordinary massage with a different name. Practitioners often modify techniques and use side-lying support with pillows or bolsters, rather than having someone lie flat for long periods, especially later in pregnancy. The goal is not to conquer the body with intensity, but to accommodate a body already engaged in immense work. Lower back discomfort, hip tension, swollen feeling legs, and general muscular fatigue are common reasons people seek prenatal massage. When done by someone trained and when there are no contraindications, it can be a welcome form of relief. What makes it especially moving is its double horizon. One body is being cared for, yet two lives are present in the room, and every adjustment in pressure or position honors that remarkable shared condition. Massage after surgery requires special caution because healing tissues, circulation changes, and medical instructions matter more than routine. The body after surgery is not simply sore. It is reorganizing itself through inflammation, repair, scar formation, and the controlled labor of healing. In that setting, massage may be helpful in some circumstances, but timing, location, and technique must follow medical guidance. Direct work over a fresh incision is very different from gentle attention to nearby areas or to regions compensating for restricted movement. Scar massage, when recommended, is usually introduced only after sufficient healing and with clear purpose, often to help the tissue move more freely. This is a good example of how massage becomes most respectable when it accepts limits. The hands do not need to win an argument with the healing process. They need to listen to it. In recovery, careful touch can become less a performance of skill and more an act of patience beside the body's own slow reconstruction. Scar tissue can become more supple over time, and massage is sometimes used to support that process when it is appropriate. A scar is not merely a mark on the surface. It is the visible signature of repair, where collagen has been laid down to close, reinforce, and stabilize tissue after injury or surgery. As scars mature, they may feel tight, raised, tender, or bound to the layers beneath them. Under professional guidance, and only when healing has progressed enough, scar massage can sometimes help improve comfort and mobility by encouraging movement in the tissue and reducing the sense of restriction. The goal is not to erase history from the skin. The body is not trying to forget what happened. Instead, The work invites the scar to become less rigid in its new role, more integrated with the motions of daily life. It is one of massage's gentlest lessons. Even repair can be persuaded toward flexibility, and strength need not always remain stiff. Sports massage developed to support training and recovery, rather than to create one single recognizable feeling. In practice, sports massage is less a fixed set of strokes than an intention shaped around timing, activity, and the athlete's needs. Before an event, techniques may be brisker and more stimulating. After exertion, they may become broader, calmer, or more drainage-oriented. During training periods, the work might target repeatedly loaded areas such as calves, hamstrings, shoulders, or forearms. This flexibility is what gives sports massage its identity. It borrows from other methods, but arranges them around performance, soreness, and maintenance. The body in training is a landscape under frequent weather, and sports massage tries to notice where the winds keep returning. Yet, at its best, it is not only for elite competition. Anyone who moves seriously, whether on trails, courts, fields, or city streets, can recognize the value of touch that respects effort and helps the body prepare for more. Massage can reduce pain partly by changing how the nervous system processes incoming signals. Pain is not a simple alarm produced only by damaged tissue. It is an experience assembled by the nervous system from sensation, expectation, context, emotion, memory, and meaning. That complexity is why massage can sometimes help, even when it does not physically alter a structure very much. Touch floods the system with new sensory input, and in some cases, this can compete with, reframe, or soften pain signals. Older theories such as gait control helped popularize this idea, and although modern pain science is more intricate, the general principle still has value. The nervous system is not a passive wire. It is an interpreter. Massage enters that interpretive process through contact, rhythm, and reassurance. Under steady hands, the body may decide that danger is less immediate than it seemed. When that happens, pain can lose some of its authority and become a quieter voice. The skin is the body's largest sensory organ, which is one reason massage feels so immediately present. Human skin covers roughly 18 to 22 square feet, or about 1.7 to 2 square meters, in an average adult, though bodies vary. Across that broad living surface are countless receptors for pressure, vibration, temperature, and stretch, each helping the brain build a map of the outer world and the body's own boundaries. Massage works across this vast frontier first. Before deeper tissues respond, the skin has already received the message. That message may be light, firm, warm, rhythmic, still, or moving, and each quality changes the experience. There is a kind of majesty in this. We move through life wrapped in a sensing garment that is not clothing at all, but ourselves. When massage begins, the skin becomes both shoreline and messenger, taking the arrival of another hand and sending its news inward through the whole attentive kingdom of the body. Human touch can increase oxytocin in some contexts, but the effect is variable and should not be turned into a universal promise. Oxytocin is a hormone and signaling molecule, often linked to bonding, trust, labor, and lactation, and researchers have long been interested in whether warm social touch influences it. Some studies suggest certain forms of comforting contact may be associated with oxytocin changes, yet the findings are not always consistent, and measuring the molecule accurately outside the brain is not simple. That uncertainty is worth preserving. Massage is often described with more confidence than the evidence can support. Still, the question itself reveals something beautiful about touch. The body appears to respond to safe human contact, not only mechanically but socially, as though physiology remembers that we are cooperative creatures. Massage sits near that threshold between muscle and relationship. Even when science proceeds cautiously, it continues to hint that touch may speak to some of the body's oldest systems of connection. Aromatherapy is not the same thing as massage, even though the two are often paired in modern practice. Massage is a manual therapy centered on touch, pressure, movement, and tissue contact. Aromatherapy uses volatile plant compounds, usually essential oils, for scent and sometimes for other intended effects, though the evidence for specific claims varies greatly. In many treatment rooms, the two meet, creating a blended experience where the hands work on the body, while fragrance shapes mood and atmosphere. Lavender may suggest quiet, citrus may feel bright, eucalyptus may seem clear and cooling. Yet these impressions are partly physiological and partly cultural, carried by memory as much as chemistry. The distinction still matters. A scented room without touch is not massage. An excellent massage can exist without scent at all. The hands remain the main instrument. Fragrance, when used carefully and safely, is more like weather around the work, a drifting companion rather than the central craft itself. Some people feel sore after a massage because tissues and the nervous system have both been strongly stimulated. This soreness is usually mild and temporary, not a sign that the body has been improved through damage. Deep or unfamiliar pressure can leave muscles feeling tender the next day, much as a new physical task may leave its trace. The skin, connective tissue, and nervous system have all been asked to respond, and sometimes that response includes a brief echo of sensitivity. This is why more pressure is not always better. A session that feels heroic in the moment may not be the one the body appreciates most afterward. Good massage lives in proportion. It finds enough intensity to be meaningful without turning the experience into an argument. When soreness does appear, it can remind us that touch is not invisible simply because it is gentle. The hands have visited the tissues, and for a little while the tissues remember the visit. Deep tissue massage is a style name, not a guarantee that the therapist will always press as hard as possible. The phrase often suggests great force, but in practice, deep tissue work aims more at depth of intention and layer of engagement than at brute pressure alone. A therapist may move slowly, sink gradually, and work with specific structures or chronic patterns of tension rather than simply leaning harder. In fact, excessive pressure can make tissues guard more, reduce cooperation, and leave the person bracing instead of receiving. True depth often requires patience, angle, and timing. It is more like opening a difficult gate than smashing one. This misunderstanding matters because many people equate effectiveness with intensity and assume discomfort proves results. Massage is wiser than that when done well. The most skillful depth can feel measured, deliberate, and strangely unforced, as though the hands had discovered the body's own willingness to allow them farther in rather than conquering it by strength. Trigger points are sensitive spots in muscle that may feel tender locally and sometimes seem to refer discomfort elsewhere. The idea of myofascial trigger points has been influential in manual therapy for decades, especially through descriptions of taut bands and nodules within muscle that hurt when pressed. Many clinicians and clients recognize the experience immediately. A small spot in the shoulder or hip can feel disproportionately vivid, almost like a hidden switch. Yet the science around trigger points is still debated, including how precisely they should be defined and measured. That uncertainty does not erase the sensation people report. It simply reminds us that the body can be clear in experience while remaining mysterious in theory. Massage often addresses these points with sustained pressure, movement, or surrounding work. Whether one imagines them as knots, hot spots, or irritable regions, they reveal something timeless. Sometimes a tiny corner of the body can speak with startling volume, and careful touch can persuade it to quiet down. Myofascial release uses sustained contact and slow pressure to work with the body's connective tissues and movement patterns. In many versions of this approach, the therapist waits rather than glides, maintaining a gradual pressure or stretch until the tissue seems to soften, lengthen, or allow more motion. The pace is part of the method's character. Nothing flashy announces itself. The change, when it comes, often feels like frost loosening from a field rather than a lock snapping open. Practitioners may explain the effects in different ways, from mechanical tissue change to nervous system modulation, and the science behind some claims remains debated. But the lived experience of the method is distinctive. It asks the body to yield through time, not speed. That makes myofascial work feel almost geological, as though the hands were negotiating with layers that prefer patience to force. In a culture that admires quick fixes, this style of massage offers a quieter lesson in gradual cooperation. Massage therapy became a licensed profession in many places only after modern regulation and formal education expanded. For much of history, massage existed in households, bathhouses, temples, athletic settings, and traditional healing systems without standardized state oversight. In the modern era, especially during the 20th century and beyond, many countries and regions began creating professional schools, examinations, scope of practice rules, and licensing requirements. This changed massage in profound ways. It moved the field closer to healthcare structures, clarified training expectations, and gave the public clearer ways to judge qualifications. Yet regulation also narrowed and organized a practice that had once been far more varied and informal. The old wandering river of touch entered canals and learned official names. There is dignity in that evolution. When a profession develops standards, it gains legitimacy, but it also carries the responsibility to protect both tradition and evidence. Massage today stands partly in ancient custom and partly in modern institutions, with one hand in each age. Massage has been used in hospitals and palliative care settings as supportive comfort rather than as a cure. In medical environments, especially where people face chronic illness, cancer treatment, frailty, or the last chapters of life, the goals of massage often become quieter and more humane. The work may focus on easing anxiety, reducing the sense of isolation within illness, soothing painful or overworked areas, and offering a form of contact that is attentive without being invasive. Pressure is usually adapted carefully, and medical context matters enormously. In these places, massage sheds any need to appear glamorous. It becomes very plain and very noble. A hand placed skillfully on the shoulder of someone navigating heavy treatment can mean something different from performance recovery or spa indulgence. It can say, without speaking, that comfort still belongs here. In the bright machinery of medicine, touch remains one of the few therapies that feels unmistakably human, carrying warmth into rooms often governed by instruments, schedules, and clinical light. Infant massage has been practiced in many cultures and is often used to support bonding, routine, and gentle sensory experience in parts of Asia, Africa, and elsewhere. Caregivers have long massaged the babies with oils or simple rhythmic touch as part of daily care after bathing or before sleep. Modern research has explored infant massage in contexts such as premature birth, parent-infant bonding, and soothing routines, with some promising findings, though outcomes depend on situation and method. The essential beauty of the practice is easy to understand. A baby enters the world from water and darkness into air, fabric, noise, and brightness, and touch helps explain this new kingdom. When done gently and appropriately, massage can become one of the earliest structured conversations between caregiver and child. The hands teach safety through repetition. They say, in effect, "Here are your arms, here are your legs. Here is the boundary of your tiny growing world." In that sense, massage helps introduce a person to their own body. Massage can affect body awareness by helping people notice areas they had been ignoring, bracing, or overusing. Much of daily movement is half automatic. We clench the jaw while reading, lift one shoulder while working, grip the hips while standing, or hold the breath during concentration without fully realizing it. A massage session interrupts that familiar invisibility. As pressure travels across the body, regions that had faded into background return to awareness with surprising clarity. This is not merely a side effect. For many people, it is one of the most useful parts of the experience. The body begins to reappear to itself. A tight calf, a guarded rib cage, or a restless hand becomes newly noticeable, and that recognition can influence posture and movement long after the session ends. Massage is not only something done to tissue, it is also a way of illuminating the body's map. Under attentive hands, forgotten provinces quietly announce that they have been there all along. Professional massage ethics place consent at the center, because touch is powerful only when it is welcomed and understood. Before any technique is applied, good practice requires clear communication about goals, health history, comfort with pressure, draping, sensitive areas, and the right to stop or modify the session at any time. This ethical frame is not a modern burden laid awkwardly on an old art. It is what allows massage to remain an art worth trusting. Touch enters the most personal territory a stranger can approach, the lived boundary of another person's body. Without consent, skill loses its legitimacy. With consent, even simple contact gains depth and dignity. This makes professionalism in massage more than cleanliness and punctuality. It means the therapist listens not only with the hands, but with attention, restraint, and respect for choice. In that sense, ethics is the invisible table beneath every session. It supports everything, and when it is strong, the work above it can unfold in safety. Tapotement is the percussion style of massage that uses rhythmic tapping or striking movements. In Western massage vocabulary, tapotement includes techniques such as cupping, hacking, beating, and light tapping, each producing a distinct sound and sensation across the skin and muscles. Unlike the long flowing reassurance of effleurage or the slow kneading of pétrissage, tapotement arrives like rain on a roof, patterned, lively, and unmistakably awake. Therapists often use it briefly rather than continuously, especially when they want to create stimulation, vary sensory input, or energize a region before movement. In some settings, it is used over the back or large muscle groups, while in others, it is avoided because the person prefers quieter work. Its character is important to understand. Tapotement is not chaos. The rhythm is controlled, and the hands remain deliberate even when the contact sounds brisk. In that measured percussion, massage briefly borrows the language of drums, letting cadence travel through flesh instead of air. Friction is the massage technique that uses small focused movements to work on specific tissues. Rather than gliding broadly over oiled skin, friction often involves deeper contact with little or no slipping, so the therapist's fingers, thumbs, or knuckles move the skin and underlying tissue together. This makes the method feel concentrated, almost like a fingertip studying a sentence word by word instead of reading the whole page at once. Clinicians sometimes use friction around tendons, ligaments, or small stubborn areas where broad strokes would miss the point. The goal is not sheer force. It is precision, direction, and enough specificity to engage a structure that needs more careful attention. Because of that, friction can be intense even when it is not dramatic. A small circle near the shoulder blade or forearm may speak more loudly than a whole arm of heavy pressure. In massage, some of the deepest conversations are carried by the smallest movements. Vibration in massage uses fine trembling or oscillating movements to create a distinctive sensory effect. A therapist may apply this with the hands or fingertips, producing a rapid quivering contact that feels very different from kneading, tapping, or long strokes. The technique has an old-fashioned elegance in massage literature, where it appears as one of the classic categories, though it is often used more sparingly in modern sessions than the major gliding and kneading methods. When skillfully done, vibration can seem to blur the boundary between stillness and motion, as if the hand were resting and singing at the same time. It may be used briefly over muscles around the back, or in calming contact at the end of a session. The body often notices it immediately because the sensation is so specific. Massage contains many voices, and vibration is one of its quieter curiosities, a trembling note that can change the whole texture of touch for a moment. Draping is one of the quiet foundations of professional massage because it protects warmth, privacy, and clarity. In table massage, sheets or towels are arranged so only the area being worked is exposed, while the rest of the body remains covered and supported. This practice is not merely procedural. It shapes how safe the session feels from the first moment onward. A well-draped body can relax more easily because boundaries are visible and predictable, and the person never has to wonder what will happen next. The fabric itself becomes part of the atmosphere, holding warmth like a small weather system around the skin. Different styles and cultures handle draping differently, and some cloth modalities use none at all. But in many professional settings, it remains essential. Massage is an art of contact, yet it depends equally on respectful limits. The sheet is not an obstacle to the work. It is one of the reasons the work can be trusted. Massage therapists rely on body mechanics because their hands are only as enduring as the posture behind them. Good body mechanics means using stance, weight shift, alignment, and larger muscle groups rather than trying to generate every stroke from the wrists and fingers alone. The result is better for both people in the room. The client feels steadier pressure, and the therapist is less likely to accumulate strain in the thumbs, shoulders, neck, or lower back over months and years of practice. Watching a skilled practitioner can feel almost like watching someone row a boat on calm water. The movement comes from the whole frame, not from frantic effort at the ends. This is one reason massage training includes more than anatomy and technique names. It teaches the practitioner how to inhabit the work. If touch is the visible art, body mechanics is the hidden architecture. Without it, even beautiful technique can slowly wear down the one who offers it. Massage is not appropriate in every circumstance because some bodies need protection more than pressure. Fever, certain infections, acute injuries, uncontrolled medical conditions, blood clots, fragile skin, and some recent surgeries are among the situations that may require postponing treatment or modifying it carefully. Even common medications can matter because anticoagulants, steroids, or cancer therapies may change how tissues respond or bruise. This caution is not a weakness in massage. It is part of its maturity. A responsible therapist does not try to prove the power of touch by using it everywhere. The hands must know when to proceed, when to adapt, and when to step back. That restraint has its own grace. Every healing art becomes more trustworthy when it respects context. Massage is no different. The body is not a blank field waiting for technique. It is a living history of conditions, treatments, vulnerabilities, and strengths, and skill begins with noticing which chapter is open today. Bruising after massage is not a sign that the session was automatically more effective. Some people bruise easily because of age, medications, connective tissue differences, or naturally delicate capillaries, and in those cases, even moderate work may leave marks. But visible bruising should not be treated as a badge of success or proof that deep tissue work reached some noble depth. In most massage settings, especially wellness and routine therapeutic care, the goal is benefit without unnecessary tissue insult. The hands are meant to communicate with the body, not overpower it into surrender. This matters because myths about toughness still cling to manual therapy. A person may believe they must endure damage to earn relief. Often, the opposite is wiser. Tissues that feel safe tend to cooperate more readily than tissues that feel attacked. Massage can be profound without leaving evidence on the skin. Its best results are usually felt in motion, comfort, and ease, not in darkened patches that linger afterward. Drinking water after a massage may feel pleasant, but massage does not flush toxins out in the dramatic way people are often told. The body already manages waste through the liver, kidneys, lungs, digestive system, and circulation. And there is no strong evidence that an ordinary massage suddenly releases mysterious toxins that must be washed away with urgent hydration. That old claim is one of the most persistent legends in bodywork. Yet there is a gentler truth beneath it. Many people enjoy water after a session because they feel warm, relaxed, or simply more aware of their bodies, and resting with a glass nearby can be a satisfying part of the ritual. Massage changes sensation and mood more reliably than it changes detoxification. This is a useful distinction. The value of a session does not need a myth to justify it. The body has its own quiet housekeeping already. Massage need only help the house feel calmer, not pretend to carry out the night's refuse. Massage may influence mood-related chemicals, but the popular story about endorphins and serotonin is often told with too much certainty. Researchers have explored whether massage affects hormones and neurotransmitter systems linked to well-being, pain, and stress. And some studies suggest shifts in markers or reported mood. Yet the biology is complicated, and many easy claims outrun the evidence. The brain is not a simple cabinet of labeled bottles that a therapist opens one by one with the right stroke. Still, it is reasonable to say that massage often changes how people feel, sometimes noticeably, and those changes likely involve the nervous system and body chemistry working together. This is one of massage's more mysterious dignities. Its effects are clearly lived before they are fully explained. A session can leave someone quieter, brighter, or less burdened, even when the exact pathways remain partly hidden. Science continues to map the stars, but the night sky of experience is already there. Massage has been studied for tension headaches because the neck, shoulders, and scalp often carry the signatures of strain. Tension-type headaches are among the most common headaches in the world, and they are frequently associated with stress, posture, jaw clenching, and tenderness in the muscles around the head and upper back. Massage does not cure every cause of head pain, and serious or unusual headaches always deserve medical evaluation. But for many people with ordinary muscular tension, skilled work on the upper trapezius, neck, scalp, and related tissues can reduce discomfort or the sense of pressure building through the day. The relief can feel almost architectural, as though a tight band around the skull had loosened by a few careful turns. This is one reason headache massage is approached with such specificity. The head may ache, but the story is often being written lower down, in the shoulders, the jaw, and the patient hinge of the neck. The jaw is a surprisingly important place in massage because many people store tension in the muscles of chewing and expression. Clenching during work, stress, concentration, or sleep can leave the masseter and temporalis muscles tender, dense, and overactive, contributing to jaw discomfort, facial fatigue, and sometimes headaches. Massage aimed at these areas is usually gentle and precise, whether it is done externally along the cheeks and temples, or in specialized clinical settings with informed internal work inside the mouth. Even without going that far, careful attention to the jaw can make the whole face feel less armored. This carries a quiet emotional power. The jaw is where speech, bite, effort, and restraint meet, and many people do not realize how fiercely they hold it until touch arrives there. When those muscles soften, the change can ripple outward into the temples, neck, and throat, as if a tightly shut gate near the mouth had finally been unlatched. Scalp massage feels distinctive because the head is richly supplied with nerves, small muscles, and sensitive skin. Even though the scalp carries no great weight like the feet and does no lifting like the shoulders, it receives touch with remarkable vividness. Fingers moving through the hairline, around the temples, and across the crown create a sensation that can seem both local and expansive, as though the whole mind had been reached through the roof of the body. Part of this comes from anatomy, and part from attention. The head is where sight, hearing, speech, smell, taste, and expression gather, so touch there feels especially personal. Scalp massage is used in salons, spas, and some therapeutic sessions, sometimes with oils and sometimes dry. It often requires very little pressure to be effective. That lightness is part of its charm. A few thoughtful movements over the scalp can feel like weather passing over a field of nerves, leaving quiet in their wake. Hand massage can be profoundly relieving because the hands work almost without rest in modern life. They type, grip, swipe, steer, lift, cook, scroll, write, and gesture, often for hours without the kind of attention given to larger muscles. Yet the hands contain intricate bones, tendons, ligaments, and small muscles, and they are densely represented in the brain's sensory map. That combination gives hand massage an outsized effect. A thumb circling the palm or gliding along the spaces between metacarpal bones can feel as though it is soothing not only the hand itself, but everything the hand has been asked to do. This is especially true for people whose days are ruled by keyboards, tools, or fine motor tasks. Relief arrives in miniature, but it carries a wide echo. The hands are our ambassadors to the world. When massage finally returns care to them, it can feel like a long overdue kindness offered to the instruments of daily life. Foot massage feels grounding because the feet combine heavy daily labor with intense sensory richness. Each foot contains a dense arrangement of bones, joints, ligaments, muscles, and nerves that manage balance, propulsion, and constant adjustment to the ground. They carry body weight across floors, soil, stairs, pavement, and time, often hidden in shoes and acknowledged only when something hurts. Massage gives them a rare moment of direct recognition. Pressure along the arch, heel, ball, and toes can feel deeply satisfying, not only because the tissues are tired, but because the feet are among the body's most faithful servants. The effect is often broader than the foot itself. When the soles soften, the ankles, calves, and even posture may seem to answer. There is something ancient in this. To care for the feet is to honor the body's long companionship with the earth, its miles traveled, its weight borne, and its quiet persistence through every day. The face can be massaged gently because facial muscles are small, expressive, and closely tied to habitual tension. Unlike the large engines of the back or thighs, the face works through subtle contractions that shape speech, chewing, blinking, frowning, and the endless micro-adjustments of emotion. Around the brow, temples, cheeks, and jaw, those small efforts can accumulate into a sense of tightness that is easy to miss until fingers arrive there. Facial massage is common in some spa and skincare settings, but its effects are not merely cosmetic. Gentle work can ease the feeling of strain and restore a softer sense of movement across the features. That matters because the face is where inner weather becomes visible. We meet the world through it. When massage touches the brow or cheek with care, it can feel less like working on tissue and more like smoothing a page on which the day has written itself too firmly. Massage has long lived beside bathing traditions because warm water and touch naturally complement one another. In Roman baths, Ottoman hammams, Japanese bathing cultures, and many other traditions, cleansing, heat, steam, scrubbing, and manual care have often shared the same architectural and cultural space. Water softens the body's defenses in its own way. Heat changes circulation and tissue feel. Steam loosens the sense of effort, and then touch can enter a body already prepared to receive it. This pairing is not accidental. Both bathing and massage mark a temporary exit from ordinary labor and a return to the body as something worth tending. Across centuries, stone floors, copper basins, wooden tubs, and wet air have formed the backdrop for this meeting. The result feels almost ceremonial. Before the hands even begin their work, the body has crossed a threshold, It has moved from doing into being cared for, and that transition is one of massage's oldest companions. Warmth changes massage because heat can make tissues feel more yielding and touch feel less abrupt. Whether it comes from heated towels, stones, baths, or the natural warmth of a room, heat often alters the experience before a single deep stroke is applied. Muscles may seem less guarded, skin more receptive, and pressure easier to interpret as comfort rather than intrusion. Some of this is mechanical, some sensory, and some simply experiential. The body reads warmth as context. A cold hand in a cold room can make even kind touch feel sharper, while warmth creates a softer border around contact. This is why so many massage traditions pay attention to temperature, oils, and coverings. The atmosphere around the session is not separate from the therapy. It is part of the therapy's language. In a warm setting, massage often feels like entering a conversation already in progress, one where the body has been gently prepared to answer yes. The pace of a massage matters because rhythm can shape the nervous system as much as pressure does. Fast strokes, irregular timing, and sudden changes tend to create one kind of alertness, while slower, predictable movement often encourages a very different response. The body is exquisitely attentive to cadence. It notices whether touch rushes, hesitates, lingers, or returns in steady cycles, and those patterns can alter how safe, stimulating, or restorative the session feels. This is why a light massage may feel profound in one pair of hands and forgettable in another. Technique. Names alone do not explain the difference. Rhythm is doing hidden work beneath the surface. A practiced therapist often uses tempo the way a musician uses meter, shaping anticipation and release without needing to announce it. In massage, the body listens through the skin. The hands may press, glide, and knead, but rhythm gives those actions a heartbeat, and the whole experience begins to move with it. Professional massage sessions begin with an intake because good touch starts with good listening. Before the hands ever meet the skin, a therapist typically asks about health conditions, injuries, medications, pain patterns, goals, pressure preferences, and any areas to avoid or emphasize. This conversation may seem simple, but it changes everything that follows. A sore shoulder after tennis is not the same as shoulder pain after surgery, and a headache linked to desk posture is not approached like dizziness or unexplained neurological symptoms. Intake turns massage from a generic sequence into a tailored response. It also gives the client a voice in the treatment, establishing collaboration rather than passive receipt. That matters ethically and practically. The body arrives with context, and context is part of anatomy. In a field centered on hands, listening might seem secondary, yet it often determines whether those hands will be appropriate, precise, and genuinely helpful once the session begins. Massage education includes anatomy because the body's beauty becomes safer when it is accurately understood. A therapist learns the major muscles, bones, joints, nerves, landmarks, and physiological systems not to reduce the body to diagrams, but to keep technique grounded in reality. Knowing where the sciatic nerve travels, where lymph nodes cluster, how the rotator cuff works, or which areas are more vulnerable to pressure changes the quality of touch. It gives the hands a map, and maps prevent both hesitation and recklessness. This is part of why massage has grown into a profession, rather than remaining only an instinctive kindness. Compassion alone is not enough when bodies are complex. training turns goodwill into informed care. Yet anatomy in massage never becomes merely academic. Under the skin, the names remain alive. The trapezius is not just a term in a book. It is a living landscape the hands may meet tonight, carrying posture, labor, strain, and possibility all at once. Self-massage is one of the oldest and most accessible forms of massage. Long before professional tables, appointment books, and treatment menus, people instinctively pressed sore calves after walking, rubbed stiff necks after labor, and kneaded tired hands at the end of the day. That simple habit belongs to the same family as formal bodywork, even if it is humbler and less precise. The body often reaches for itself first. A thumb pressed into the palm, fingers circling the temples, or knuckles rolling over the thigh, can change sensation in surprisingly direct ways, because the person giving the pressure also knows exactly where the ache lives. Self-massage lacks the outside perspective and leverage of another pair of hands, yet it offers something no professional can provide: constant availability. It turns care into a daily skill instead of a rare event. In that way, self-massage feels like the oldest proverb of touch, spoken quietly from one hand to the other. Side-lying massage is one of the most useful positions for comfort, when face down or face up work is not ideal. Many people imagine massage only as a body stretched long on a table. But in practice, the side-lying position can be remarkably elegant and supportive. Pillows are placed between the knees, under the head, and sometimes against the chest or back, creating a nest-like arrangement that reduces strain and protects vulnerable joints. This position is especially helpful in pregnancy, for some older adults, for people with breathing difficulties, and for those whose shoulders, low back, or hips object to more standard setups. The body often feels less exposed there too. Curled slightly on one side, it can seem to settle into its own natural architecture, rather than being asked to hold a straighter line than comfort allows. Massage adapts well when it stops insisting on one perfect posture and instead honors the body's preferred geometry. Geriatric massage is adapted for older bodies, with special attention to skin, circulation, mobility, and fatigue. Aging changes tissues in quiet, cumulative ways. Skin can become thinner and more delicate. Bruising may happen more easily. Joints may be stiffer, and lying in one position too long may simply become uncomfortable. For that reason, massage for older adults often uses gentler pacing, lighter pressure, extra cushioning, and shorter sessions when needed. The aim is not to perform a smaller version of ordinary massage, but a wiser one. In later life, touch often becomes more meaningful, not less, because the body carries more history in every scar, medication, ache, and adaptation. A careful therapist pays attention to all of it. Even the simplest stroke across the forearm or back can feel dignified when it is offered with patience and respect. The aging body is not a faded edition of youth. It is a manuscript with more pages, and massage must read it accordingly. Oncology massage is a specialized form of massage adapted for people living with cancer or recovering from its treatment. The body in this setting may be changed by surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, fatigue, neuropathy, ports, scar tissue, swelling, and profound shifts in energy. Because of that, the work is not defined by intensity, but by careful adjustment. Pressure is often lighter, positioning more deliberate, and the choice of where not to work can be as important as the choice of where to touch. This is one of massage's clearest lessons in humility. A technique that feels ordinary in one person may be too much in another, and the therapist's skill lies in recognizing the difference without drama. In oncology care, massage is usually supportive, not curative. Yet support can be deeply meaningful. When the body has endured heavy treatment, gentle and informed touch can restore a sense of comfort, dignity, and inhabitable space within a body that has had to be brave. Palpation is the hands-on skill that lets massage therapists gather information directly from the body. Before a therapist decides how to work on a shoulder, calf, or lower back, the hands often spend a few moments simply listening through contact. They notice heat, density, tenderness, guarding, dryness of skin, thickness of tissue, and how one side differs from the other. This is called palpation, and it is one of the most quietly sophisticated parts of massage. Nothing dramatic appears to happen, yet decisions are already being made. A certain area may need broader work, slower sinking pressure, more caution, or perhaps no pressure at all. The body is giving clues in texture and response. Palpation does not make a massage therapist a physician, and it is not a substitute for medical diagnosis, but it does make touch intelligent. The hands become more than tools of pressure. They become readers, moving over the body like fingertips across embossed writing, feeling structure before shaping sensation. Forearms and elbows let massage therapists deliver broad pressure without relying only on small hand muscles. The thumb is precise and expressive, but it is not built to carry the whole profession on its own. Over years of practice, therapists often learn to use the fleshy part of the forearm or the point of the elbow to reach deeper layers more sustainably and to spread pressure across a wider surface. This changes the character of touch. A thumb can feel like a pen writing a fine line, while a forearm can feel like a warm, rolling wave. The body often responds differently to each. Forearm work is especially valued over large regions, such as the back, hips, and hamstrings, where broad contact can feel more grounding than sharp pinpoint force. Good massage is not just about where pressure lands. It is about what shape delivers it. In that sense, the forearm and elbow are not merely substitutes for the hand. They are instruments with voices of their own. Mechanical massage devices can imitate some massage sensations, but they do not replace the judgment of trained hands. Percussion guns, vibrating tools, rollers, and electric chair massagers have become common because they are portable, fast, and easy to use without another person present. They can provide stimulation, warmth, or the pleasing thrum of repeated contact, and many people enjoy them after exercise or long hours of sitting. Yet devices do not truly perceive the body. They cannot notice hesitation in breathing, subtle guarding, emotional discomfort, shifting tenderness, or the difference between a tired muscle and an area that should be avoided. A human therapist is constantly adjusting pressure, angle, pacing, and intention in response to what the body says back. A device repeats, a person interprets. That does not make the tools worthless. It simply places them in a more honest light. They are useful companions to body care, but they are not readers of living tissue in the way attentive hands can be. Lotions, creams, and gels change massage in different ways because each creates its own balance of glide and grip. Oils allow long, smooth strokes with generous movement over the skin, but other lubricants offer different textures that suit different techniques. Lotion often absorbs more quickly and gives moderate glide. Cream tends to feel richer and slower, allowing control without excessive drag. Gel can feel lighter, cooler, and more slippery in a distinct way. These differences matter because massage is partly shaped by friction. Too much slip can make detailed work feel vague, while too much drag can make long strokes feel interrupted. The lubricant becomes part of the method. A therapist may choose one, not for luxury, but for mechanical precision, skin preference, climate, or whether the session calls for broad flowing work or more focused contact. In the quiet physics of massage, even a thin film on the skin changes the whole conversation between hand and tissue. Assisted stretching is used in some massage sessions to guide joints and muscles through supported ranges of motion. Instead of asking the client to create the movement alone, the therapist helps lift a leg, rotate a shoulder, bend a knee, or lengthen the side of the neck while keeping the rest of the body steady. This gives the stretch a different feeling from ordinary exercise. The person receiving it can soften more fully because the work of steering and stabilizing has been shared. In that shared effort, motion feels less like achievement and more like permission. Assisted stretching often appears in Thai massage, sports massage, and treatment-focused sessions where mobility is part of the goal. Done well, it is measured rather than heroic. The therapist watches for resistance, breath changes, and the body's natural stopping points instead of forcing a dramatic range. Stretching by hand becomes a kind of guided doorway, opened only as far as the body is willing to walk through it. Shiatsu is a massage style in which the therapist uses the feet to deliver broad, deep pressure. The sight of it can seem surprising at first, because feet are more often imagined as things that walk than things that heal. Yet in this method, the foot becomes a remarkably effective tool. With bars overhead for balance, the therapist can control weight carefully and use the arch or heel to glide over large muscles such as the back, hips, and legs. The pressure often feels broad rather than sharp, which is one reason some people find it more comfortable than very deep work from elbows or thumbs. It is a vivid reminder that the quality of touch depends not only on intensity, but on surface area and control. Under a practiced foot, the body may feel as though a slow, heavy river has passed over it. What seems unusual from the outside becomes, on the table, a surprisingly graceful form of contact. Lomi Lomi is a Hawaiian massage tradition, known for long flowing strokes and deep cultural roots. In contemporary practice, many people recognize Lomi Lomi by the use of forearm-length movements that travel across large portions of the body in sweeping patterns, creating a sense of continuity rather than isolated segments of work. Yet to describe it only by technique would be too small. Traditional Hawaiian healing practices grew from a broader cultural world that included family, spirituality, relationship to land, and inherited knowledge. As with many indigenous traditions, modern spa versions may capture some outward features while leaving deeper context behind. That distinction deserves respect. The beauty of Lomi Lomi is not simply that it feels wave-like, though it often does. It is that it comes from a place where touch could belong to a much larger understanding of life. When practiced with care and cultural awareness, it reminds the body that movement can feel less like correction and more like oceanic continuity. Massage often helps people who work at desks because modern posture concentrates strain in very specific places. Hours at a computer can shorten the front of the chest, overwork the neck and upper shoulders, tire the forearms, and leave the hips and lower back caught between stillness and effort. The discomfort may feel general, yet the pattern is surprisingly recognizable. Massage in these cases often focuses not only on the areas that hurt most loudly, such as the neck, but also on quieter accomplices like the pectoral muscles, the muscles along the forearm, and the deep tissues around the shoulder blade. This gives relief a more complete shape. The body at a desk is not collapsing from one dramatic error. It is being slowly persuaded into repetition. Massage interrupts that persuasion. It reminds the shoulders how to descend, the jaw how to soften, and the ribs how to move a little more freely under the calm and patient influence of touch. Massage can make breathing feel easier when it reduces tension in the muscles that help lift and steady the rib cage. Breathing is never done by the lungs alone. Muscles of the neck, chest, ribs, back, and abdomen all contribute to the changing shape of the torso, especially when a person is tired, anxious, or working in a posture that keeps the chest fixed and narrow. Massage does not increase lung capacity like a miracle, and it is not a treatment for serious respiratory disease by itself, but by easing the scalenes, pectorals, intercostal tissues, upper back, and diaphragm-related tension around the trunk. It can make each breath feel less defended. The ribs begin to move with more courtesy toward one another. The chest no longer seems to be held shut by invisible straps. This is one of massage's gentlest powers. It does not breathe for the body. It simply makes room, and sometimes room is enough for the body to remember a fuller rhythm. Abdominal massage exists in many traditions, but it requires skill, consent, and thoughtful timing, because the belly is both sensitive and personal. The abdomen contains digestive organs, major blood vessels, scar-prone surgical sites, and layers of muscle that are closely linked to posture, breathing, and vulnerability. For all those reasons, it is not an area to approach casually, yet when appropriate, gentle abdominal work can feel profoundly settling. Some traditions use it to support digestive comfort, some to address breathing and core tension, and some to help the body feel more integrated from ribs to pelvis. The pressure is usually far lighter than people expect. The abdomen responds better to respect than to conquest. Many people also carry emotional guardedness there, not because the belly stores feelings in a mystical sense, but because it is such an unarmored part of the body. When massage meets it with patience, the result can feel less like treatment and more like reconciliation. Context changes massage because expectation, environment, and trust shape how the body interprets touch. The same pressure from the same hand can feel different in a hurried room than in a calm one, different with warning than without it, different in a person who feels safe than in one who feels uncertain. This does not mean massage is imaginary or that its effects are only in the mind. It means the mind is always part of the body's response. Light, sound, temperature, communication, professional manner, and previous experience all help determine whether touch is received as relief, irritation, neutrality, or something in between. Modern pain science supports this broader view. Sensation is not delivered like a parcel. It is interpreted in context. Massage, therefore, works on more than muscles. It works inside a small theater of perception where setting, confidence, and bodily meaning all share the stage. The hands are central, but the room around the hands is never silent. Massage therapists do not diagnose disease, and responsible practice depends on knowing when to refer someone for medical care. A person may arrive asking for help with a sore calf, numb hand, persistent headache, unexplained swelling, or back pain. Yet some patterns deserve more than manual treatment. Redness, sudden severe pain, fever, neurological changes, chest symptoms, unhealed wounds, or symptoms with no clear mechanical story may require prompt medical evaluation. A good therapist recognizes that boundary without hesitation. This does not diminish massage, it protects it. Every profession earns trust not only by what it can do, but by what it refuses to pretend to do. The hands may notice that something feels unusual through history-taking and palpation, but their task is not to declare a medical verdict. Their task is to respond wisely. In that wisdom, referral becomes part of care. Sometimes the most skillful thing touch can do is step aside and guide the person toward a different form of help. Pre-event massage is usually shorter and more stimulating than massage meant for recovery after effort. Before competition or intense activity, the goal is not to melt the body into deep softness. It is to prepare it. Techniques tend to be brisker, more rhythmic, and less lingering, with enough contact to warm tissues, sharpen body awareness, and help the athlete feel ready without becoming heavy or drowsy. After exertion, the emphasis often changes toward easing soreness, broadening movement, and calming areas that have worked hard. This contrast is a lovely example of massage as timing rather than doctrine. The same body may need two very different kinds of touch, depending on whether it is standing at the threshold of effort or returning from it. Preparation asks for brightness. Recovery asks for generosity. The therapist adjusts accordingly. In sport, massage behaves less like a fixed recipe and more like a seasonally wise gardener, knowing whether the moment calls for awakening buds or tending the ground after weather. Blind massage practitioners have held respected roles in some cultures, especially in Japan, where touch became a skilled profession with deep history. For centuries, people who were blind in Japan often entered occupations in music, acupuncture, and massage, fields in which trained tactile sensitivity could become both livelihood and respected art. Over time, this created lineages of practice and teaching that gave massage a distinctive social place. The story matters because it reveals something profound about touch itself. Vision is not the only path to knowledge of the body. In skilled hands, texture, temperature, tension, direction, and subtle resistance can be read with extraordinary clarity through contact alone. The body becomes legible by other means. This is not a romantic claim that blindness automatically grants superior touch, but a historical reminder that massage has often flourished where tactile intelligence was honored as a genuine form of expertise. In those traditions, the hands were not secondary senses. They were master readers of living terrain. Massage is often combined with movement advice because relief lasts longer when daily habits change with it. A beautifully loosened neck can tighten again if the shoulders remain lifted over a laptop every day. A calf that feels wonderfully free after treatment may harden once more if walking shoes fit poorly or training load climbs too quickly. For that reason, many massage therapists offer simple suggestions about posture, stretching, pacing, hydration habits, or ways to rest the hands and wrists between repetitive tasks. These suggestions are usually modest, not grand prescriptions. Their purpose is to help the body keep some of what the session revealed. Massage opens a window, but everyday movement determines how long the room stays airy. This partnership between hands and habit is one of the field's most practical truths. The body changes through repeated experience. A single session may begin the conversation, yet the hours afterward decide whether the new tone becomes familiar enough to remain. Massage sometimes reveals asymmetry because the two sides of the body are rarely exact twins in daily life. One shoulder may lift a little higher, one hip may bear more standing weight, one hand may grip tools more often, and one side of the neck may stay shorter from how a person sleeps, drives, or works. These differences are not always problems. Many are ordinary consequences of handedness, habit, old injuries, and the endless small preferences of movement. But when a therapist works across both sides in sequence, the contrast can become unmistakable. One calf may feel dense while the other feels springy. One shoulder blade may glide more easily than his partner. Massage makes those differences felt rather than merely seen. This can be useful because the body often normalizes its own unevenness until touch draws a quiet line of comparison. In that line, the person begins to notice the body not as a symmetrical statue, but as a lived landscape shaped by repetition. Time changes massage because a 60-minute session and a 90-minute session often create very different possibilities. In a shorter appointment, the therapist may need to focus tightly on one or two major areas, such as the neck and shoulders or the low back and hips, leaving little room for the rest of the body. With more time, the work can become broader and more layered. The body receives an opening phase, a more detailed middle, and a quieter return, rather like a piece of music allowed to complete its full arc. This is not a matter of luxury alone. Some techniques simply need minutes to unfold, especially when tissue and nervous system both respond better to gradual pacing. More time often means less rushing, fewer abrupt transitions, and a more coherent conversation across the whole body. Massage is shaped not only by method, but by duration. The clock in the room is invisible, yet it quietly determines how much of the body's story can be heard. Fragrance-free massage is important because some people are sensitive to scented products, even when the touch itself is welcome. Essential oils, perfumed lotions, candles, and laundry detergents can create a beautiful atmosphere for one person and an exhausting one for another. Migraines, asthma, allergies, chemotherapy-related sensitivity, and simple personal preference can all make scent the wrong companion for bodywork. This is why professional massage is often most considerate when it treats fragrance as optional rather than essential. The hands remain the main event. A neutral oil, clean linens, and unscented space can make the session feel clearer and more accessible, especially for people whose bodies are already negotiating too many strong signals. There is a quiet generosity in that simplicity. Massage does not need perfume to justify its presence. Touch has its own eloquence. When the room is free of added scent, the body may hear that eloquence more plainly, without another voice competing in the air around it. The word massage has an uncertain history, which is fitting for a practice shaped by many cultures at once. Linguists have linked the English word to the French massa, to Arabic roots related to touching or pressing, and sometimes to Greek words associated with kneading. No single origin commands universal agreement, and that small mystery feels almost graceful. Massage seems to have entered language the way it entered history, through overlapping paths rather than one clear doorway. Merchants, physicians, travelers, and teachers carried techniques across regions, and words often travel the same way, picking up echoes as they go. The uncertainty also reminds us that massage is older than the modern labels attached to it. Human hands were rubbing tired muscles long before dictionaries tried to settle the matter. In that sense, the word arrived late to a very ancient activity, like a name given to a river that had already been flowing for centuries. Ancient Egyptian tomb art includes one of the most famous early images associated with massage. In the tomb of Ankh-Mahor at Saqqara, dating to the Old Kingdom more than 4,000 years ago, there are scenes showing people manipulating hands and feet. Modern viewers often call this one of the earliest depictions of massage, and some even connect it to later reflexology, though that stronger claim reaches farther than the evidence securely allows. What the scene clearly shows is that skilled touch had already earned a place in the visual record of an advanced civilization. That alone is remarkable. Stone usually preserves kings, rituals, and monuments. Yet here, the wall also remembers ordinary human care. The gesture survives in profile after millennia. Hands attending to other hands, feet attended by other feet. Across that carved surface, massage appears not as extravagance, but as something worthy of permanence. A small act of bodily knowledge granted a place beside eternity. Low back pain is one of the most common reasons adults seek massage. This makes sense in a world of long sitting, repetitive lifting, uneven sleep, old injuries, and the daily negotiation between gravity and posture. The lower back is not a single hinge, but a crowded meeting place where spinal joints, muscles, fascia, hips, breath, and habit all influence one another. Because of that, massage does not solve every case, and serious or persistent pain may require broader care. Yet research and clinical guidelines have often found massage can provide modest short-term relief for some people, especially when back pain is mechanical and not tied to a more dangerous cause. That word modest is important, and still it is not small. A little less pain when standing, walking, or rising from a chair can change the feeling of an entire week. In the geography of daily life, even modest relief in the lower back can feel like the return of usable ground. Massage is surprisingly difficult to study well because touch resists the clean controls that many experiments prefer. In a drug trial, one pill can be made to look like another, but massage is harder to disguise. The person knows whether hands are present. The therapist knows what technique is being used, and the atmosphere of care itself becomes part of the effect. Pressure, rhythm, warmth, trust, and expectation all matter. And isolating one ingredient from the others can be like trying to study moonlight by removing the sky. This does not make massage unscientific. It simply means the science must be interpreted with care. Researchers often rely on comparison groups, symptom scores, and repeated measures rather than perfect blinding. That is one reason massage evidence can look mixed even when many people report real benefit. The body responds to touch as a whole event, not a single molecule, and research must work patiently to understand something that is inherently relational. Massage has shown some promise for improving sleep quality in certain groups, though the effect is not uniform for everyone. Studies in older adults, people with pain, some hospital populations, and other groups have suggested that massage can sometimes help people fall asleep more comfortably or feel they sleep more deeply. The pathways are likely indirect rather than magical. Less pain, reduced muscular guarding, a calmer autonomic state, and the simple settling influence of reassuring touch may all contribute. Yet the evidence varies by population, method, and study quality, so massage should not be treated as a guaranteed cure for insomnia. Its value lies more gently than that. A body that feels less braced often meets the night differently. Shoulders soften into the pillow with less argument. Breathing moves with fewer interruptions, and the day's last tension does not cling quite so fiercely. Sometimes sleep arrives not because it was commanded, but because the body was made a little more willing to receive it. Neck massage requires extra caution because vital structures lie close to the surface in a relatively small space. The neck carries major blood vessels, important nerves, delicate joints, the airway, and the carotid sinus, an area involved in blood pressure regulation. That does not make the neck forbidden territory. It simply makes it a place where knowledge matters. Skillful neck work is usually thoughtful, measured, and attentive to angle rather than blunt force, especially along the front and sides. Many people feel immense relief when the muscles around the neck and base of the skull are treated well, because so much modern tension gathers there. But the best therapists do not attack that tension as though it were an enemy fortress. They approach it with precision and respect. The neck is less like a thick field and more like a narrow bridge carrying precious traffic. Massage can bring ease there beautifully, but only when the hands remember exactly what country they are crossing. A simple bolster under the knees can transform a back massage by changing how the pelvis and spine rest on the table. When someone lies flat on their back without support, the hip flexors and lower back may remain slightly tense, especially if the legs are long, the hamstrings are tight, or the lumbar curve is pronounced. Place a cushion beneath the knees, and the effect can be immediate. The pelvis tilts a little, the lower back often settles more comfortably, and the whole body seems to stop quietly resisting the position. The same principle appears in other forms with support under the ankles, chest, or side-lying limbs. Massage is shaped not only by what the hands do, but by how the body is arranged before the hands begin. The bolster is a small, humble invention, yet it changes the landscape. A body properly supported receives touch more easily, like a bridge that no longer has to strain against its own weight. Professional massage often includes written notes because continuity of care depends on more than the therapist's immediate impressions. After a session, a practitioner may record areas of tension, pressure tolerance, techniques used, health considerations, positioning choices, and how the body responded. These notes are not there to make massage feel cold or bureaucratic. They serve a quieter purpose. At the next visit, the therapist can remember that the left shoulder reacted strongly, that side lying was more comfortable than prone, or that a certain kind of forearm work brought the best relief. Over time, a pattern begins to emerge. The body tells a serial story rather than a single episode, and notes help that story remain legible. This is one of the ways massage became a profession as well as an art. The hands gather experience in the moment, but the written record lets that experience carry forward. Care deepens when the body is remembered with accuracy from one session to the next. The best massage pressure is usually discovered through feedback, rather than guessed in silence. One person's ideal depth feels too light to another, and too intense to a third. And even within the same body, the shoulders may welcome one level, while the calves prefer something different. Pain tolerance, history, stress, hydration, injury, and simple personal preference all shape the answer. Because of that, a thoughtful therapist checks in. Pressure is adjusted, pace is modified, and the session becomes a collaboration rather than a performance. This exchange does not spoil the atmosphere, it protects it. The body relaxes more fully when it knows it can speak and be heard. In that sense, feedback is not a technical interruption. It is part of the method itself. Massage becomes most precise when it includes the client's own report from inside the tissue being touched. The hands may be skilled, but the body being worked on remains the final authority on what feels like care and what feels like too much. Silence is not a rule in massage, but many people find that quiet changes the depth of the experience. In ordinary conversation, attention keeps flowing outward through words, explanations, and social rhythm. During a quieter session, that stream often turns inward. The body begins to notice subtler things, how one shoulder rests differently from the other, how the jaw softens in stages, how a long exhale seems to arrive from somewhere below the ribs. None of this means talking is wrong. Some people relax most when they speak a little, and good therapists usually follow the client's lead. Still, silence has a particular quality in massage. It lets the strokes, pauses, and shifts of pressure become the main language in the room. The session starts to feel less like an appointment and more like weather moving across the body. In that hush, the nervous system often seems willing to listen more closely to touch, and touch in turn seems to say more. Warm towels are used in massage for more than atmosphere. A towel heated and draped over the back, feet, neck, or hands can soften the transition into touch, ease the feeling of guarded tissues, and make a room feel more hospitable to a body. Arriving from cold air or a hurried day, warm towels are also practical. They can remove excess oil, prepare the feet before detailed work, or help the shoulders and upper back receive pressure with less initial resistance. The effect is simple but memorable. Heat from fabric feels different from heat from stones or water. It is lighter, less commanding, more like a gentle weather front passing briefly over the skin. That gentleness is part of why people remember it so clearly. The towel does not perform the massage, yet it alters the body's readiness for it. In the quiet engineering of comfort, warm cloth is one of the small devices by which a session becomes easier to enter and slower to leave. Massage therapists themselves face a real risk of hand, thumb, shoulder, and back strain if they do not protect their own bodies. It is one of the profession's quieter paradoxes. A practice devoted to relieving tension can also create it in the practitioner when body mechanics are poor, schedules are overloaded, or every stroke is forced through small joints. This is why training emphasizes stance, leverage, forearm use, table height, pacing, and sometimes the deliberate choice not to work too deep when depth would cost longevity. The therapist's body is not separate from the treatment. It is the instrument through which every technique must pass. When that instrument is cared for well, the work gains steadiness and durability. Over years, many skilled practitioners refine their methods, not to become softer in skill, but wiser in structure. Massage, at its most sustainable, is not a contest of strength. It is a craft built on intelligent use of weight, rhythm, and preserved hands. Couples massage is a shared setting rather than a separate massage technique. Two people receive sessions at the same time in the same room, usually with two therapists working in parallel, while the actual methods may be Swedish, deep tissue, or any other style agreed upon. What makes it distinctive is not the stroke pattern, but the social arrangement. For some people, that shared setting adds ease. A partner, friend, or family member nearby, can make an unfamiliar spa or clinic feel more welcoming, and the experience becomes something remembered together rather than separately. Yet the massage itself remains individual. One person may want firm work on the back, while the other prefers gentler attention to the legs and neck. The room holds both realities at once. There is something quietly modern about this format. Massage, once imagined as private and secluded, becomes a paired ceremony of care. Two tables stand side by side, and the same calm hour belongs differently to each body within it. Dancers and performers have relied on massage for generations because rehearsal creates precise patterns of overuse. A violinist may harden through the neck and forearm, a pianist through the shoulders and wrists, a dancer through calves, hips, and feet, and a singer through jaw, rib cage, and upper back. Performance asks the body to repeat exact motions with feeling, often under pressure and bright attention, and repetition leaves its signatures in tissue. Massage fits this world well because it can be local without losing the whole picture. It can work on the shoulder that lifts during bowing while still noticing the spine that compensates beneath it. In rehearsal culture, relief must also be practical. The body is not being prepared for idleness, but for another round of expressive precision. That gives massage a special place backstage and in training studios. It becomes not indulgence, but maintenance of the instruments through which art appears, a form of care offered to bodies that make beauty through repetition. Massage can sharpen proprioception, the body's sense of position and movement in space. Proprioception is the quiet internal faculty that tells you where your limbs are without looking, how far your head is turned, whether your shoulders are lifted, and how evenly your weight is distributed across the feet. It depends on constant input from muscles, joints, fascia, and skin. When massage changes the tone of a tight area or draws attention to a neglected one, that inner map may become clearer for a time. People often describe this as feeling more balanced, more symmetrical, or somehow more present inside their own frame. The shift can be subtle, but it matters. The body is not only soothed by touch, it is informed by it. A shoulder blade that seemed vague may suddenly feel knowable. A hip that always worked in silence may enter awareness. Massage, in this way, can act like a cartographer, redrawing parts of the body's map with gentler, clearer borders. Fibromyalgia is one of the conditions that makes massage both potentially helpful and especially dependent on sensitivity. People with fibromyalgia often live with widespread pain, fatigue, sleep disturbance, and amplified sensory responses, which means pressure that feels ordinary to one person may feel excessive to another. For that reason, gentler approaches are often better tolerated than aggressive deep work. Slow pacing, clear communication, shorter sessions, and respect for post-treatment fatigue can matter more than intensity. This does not reduce massage to something timid. It makes it accurate. A nervous system already carrying too much volume rarely benefits from being challenged as though more stimulation were the answer. The art lies in finding contact that soothes without overwhelming. Some people with fibromyalgia report comfort, better rest, or a temporary easing of pain when massage is carefully adapted. In such cases, touch behaves less like an intervention of force and more like a lowering of brightness in a room that has been painfully overlit. Water-based bodywork changes massage because buoyancy removes much of the body's usual burden of weight. In warm pools, methods such as aquatic bodywork or watsu support the person while the practitioner cradles, stretches, and moves the body through water. The joints no longer have to negotiate gravity in the same way, and the spine, hips, and shoulders can feel unexpectedly spacious. Water also creates continuous contact. Instead of a hand against still air and skin, there is always a surrounding medium carrying warmth, pressure, and subtle movement. This gives aquatic massage a dreamlike character, though its mechanics are very real. Buoyancy allows ranges of motion and degrees of surrender that can be difficult on land, especially for people with pain or stiffness. The result is not merely floating. It is structured support in a gentler physics. In warm water, the body often seems to remember an older ease, as though gravity had loosened its grip long enough for movement to become almost effortless. A focused regional massage can be more useful than a full body session, when one problem area is doing most of the talking. Many people imagine that massage is only complete when every major region has been touched. Yet in practice, 30 or 60 minutes spent thoughtfully on the neck and shoulders, or on the low back and hips, may bring more relief than a brief pass over the entire body. Tissue often responds best when time is concentrated. There is room for warming strokes, slower depth, reassessment, and a proper closing phase rather than a hurried tour from one landmark to the next. This does not make full body massage less valuable. It simply reveals another truth about the craft. Attention has weight. Where it is concentrated, the body may answer more clearly. In a focused session, the therapist is not trying to greet the whole kingdom. The work is sent to the province that most needs it, and that province may reward the extra time with a deeper, steadier change. In professional English, the term massage therapist is often preferred over masseuse or masseur because it reflects training and clinical respect. Earlier terms became tied in some places to old-fashioned gender labels, inconsistent standards, and occasionally to sexualized misunderstanding that had little to do with legitimate bodywork. As massage education, licensing, and healthcare integration expanded, massage therapist emerged as the clearer professional name. The shift may sound purely linguistic, yet words shape how a field is treated. A profession seen as skilled therapy is granted a different kind of attention than one framed as ornamental service. This change, therefore, tells part of the modern history of massage itself. The field has been defining its boundaries, asserting ethics, and asking to be understood on its own terms. Language became one of the tools for that. Beneath the title, the work is still carried by hands, but the name helps those hands be recognized as trained, accountable, and worthy of trust. The end of a massage is usually gentler and slower because the body often needs a moment to reorient before standing up again. After lying still in warmth and receiving sustained touch, some people feel heavy, spacious, or slightly dreamlike. Others notice mild lightheadedness if they rise too fast, especially after deep work, long stillness, or a generally relaxing session. That is why many therapists close with quieter strokes, allow a pause before speaking, and encourage an unhurried return to sitting and then standing. This small transition is easy to overlook, yet it is part of the treatment's design. Massage does not truly end with the last stroke. It ends when the person has re-entered gravity, clothing, and ordinary movement without losing the sense of ease the session created. The body is being asked to cross a threshold back into the day. A graceful ending helps it carry something of the table outward, rather than leaving comfort behind like a forgotten blanket. And so, our journey through the most relaxing facts about massage comes gently to rest. We began in ancient households, bathhouses, temples, training grounds, and healing traditions, where human hands learned that comfort could be shaped with pressure, rhythm, warmth, and care. We traveled through oils and stones, through mats and tables, through the quiet intelligence of anatomy and the long memory of culture. Again and again, massage revealed itself as something both humble and noble, a practice built from skin, muscle, nerve, trust, and time. It belongs to athletes and infants, to elders and workers, to ritual and medicine, to recovery and daily life. Across every variation, one truth remains steady. The body is not only something that labors, it is also something that can be tended with skill. There is something deeply timeless in that idea. A hand resting on a tired shoulder, fingers easing the jaw, warmth spread across the back, a careful stroke along the feet after a long day. These are small acts, yet they have traveled beside humanity for thousands of years. Massage does not ask the body to become something new. More often, it invites the body to remember what ease once felt like and what balance may still feel like again. Even in the modern world, with its speed, noise, and endless repetition, touch remains one of the oldest forms of knowledge we possess. It reads the body in silence. It answers strain without harshness. It reminds us that relief can be crafted slowly, with patience and respect. Now the room grows quieter. The history, the science, the techniques, and the traditions can settle softly around you, like folded linen at the close of evening. Let the long story of touch rest beside you now, ancient and gentle, still moving through human life as it always has, from one caring hand to another. Sleep well. Good night.